Hi, I'm Auriel Grace, and today we're going to be talking about Aru, the field of reeds. Okay, so that is the Egyptian paradise. And so we're going to talk about uh, the gods and goddesses that help with getting you through to paradise and how paradise became a place that everyone could go to. All right, so we're going to start with some mythology and work our way around. All right, so the god of the underworld, or the king, the pharaoh of the underworld, is Osiris. Osiris is he is the god of death, resurrection, and fertility. So he is the husband of Isis. And then there is Set and Nephthys, who are also Osiris and Isis's brother and sister. Okay, so here's the story, quick and dirty. Osiris is Pharaoh of Egypt. Isis is his queen. Nephthys disguises herself as Isis and seduces Osiris. She conceives Anubis. Okay. Set, who is already jealous of Osiris because he's a pharaoh, gets really upset when Nephthys has Anubis. And so that really just irks him. Okay, so Set is the god of chaos. He is. And he, in his crazy way, goes and has a party because of all of this. And he invites all the gods and goddesses to come and celebrate with him. And he has this awesome sarcophagus there. And he's set a trap for Osiris because he knows Osiris. He knows that he wants an awesome sarcophagus. So when he passes away, because Egyptians believe that their gods and goddesses are immortal, but they can also pass away, pass into Araru, still keeping their powers, but they can die and be resurrected. So all these people are checking out this sarcophagus, and they're laying in it and they're checking it out, and it's pretty awesome. And so Isis tells Osiris, don't get in that sarcophagus. That's not a good thing. He's playing a trick. Don't do it. Osiris cannot help himself because he's vain. So he lays in the sarcophagus, and Set shuts that thing and throws it into the Nile. So, which upsets Isis. And Isis goes and she finds him, and she pulls the sarcophagus out of the Nile and opens it up to rescue Osiris. Well, Set gets really mad then, and he goes and he chops Osiris up and throws him all over Egypt. So then Isis has to go find all of Osiris's parts and put him back together. So with the assistance of Nephthys, she's able to gather up all his body parts except his penis. And but Anubis, who is actually at this point the god of the afterlife, he comes in. They ask him to come in and help his father, help fix him, because Egyptians believe that you have to be in one piece in order to go through all the stages you have to go through to get to the field of reeds. You have to be perfect. So Anubis lays down his spells and his incantations and his prayers, and he lays down his all of his herbs and charms, and he creates this great, awesome ceremony for the dead and for his father, right? And he wraps him up and he mummifies him, and he does everything perfectly, and places him in a sarcophagi, and his spirit. Okay, so one of the things that the Egyptians believe is that the Ka, which is part of your spirit, resides in the tomb. That part of the spirit, it resembles you, and it receives offerings from the loved ones, right? Like you bring flowers or stones or coins or whatever it is that you bring to the gravesite. So the Ka, which is part of the soul, remains in the tomb. Okay, it looks just like you. And then the Ba, B-A, or B as in boy, A, which is the spiritual double, it traverses the afterlife, and once it gets past the hall of double judgment, it like transfigures into the glorified soul. And that is called Ak, or A-K-H, right? So that's the glorified soul. So Osiris has to go on Ra's solar boat to get to the Hall of Judgment. Okay? So, and this is like everyone does it. But because Osiris is a pharaoh of Egypt, when he gets to the underworld, he becomes the king of the underworld, or the pharaoh of the underworld. So you have to get past Osiris to get to the next steps, because it's not just going through the underworld, riding on Ra's boat. You have to know all the stuff. You have to know like the names, the secret names of the guards of each gate to get through 7 gates before you reach Osiris's hall. All right? So you have to know that. You have to know like how to do that. How do you get there? How does that happen? So the majority of Egyptians believe that, your soul, the first part of the journey into the afterlife is in the west. So a lot of their cemeteries were on the west side of the Nile. Okay? And so when that's their first step. So Anubis's name actually means or this is what they used to call him, foremost of Westerners. And they call all those people that have passed on Westerners. They're Westerners. They're going west. Right? So that's what they call them. I think that's cool. So Araru, which is the field of dreams, it's like Elysium or heaven. It is the exact double of the River Nile. It's like perfection, though. It's fertile and abundant. It's beautiful. You can live there and be happy, and everything that you've ever wanted and desired is in Araru, the field of reeds. All right, so it is the double of the River Nile on steroids. So there is no strife or suffering, and your people come to greet you when you get there, which is awesome too. So like, all your family, all those people who have passed before you, your ancestors, they all come to greet you when you get there. All right. So in the beginning, only the Pharaoh and his family and his descendants and his ancestors were allowed in Araru. That's it. And so the regular person couldn't go there. They just couldn't. They had to just hang out in the Amduat and just like be lost. But as time went on, people started not seeing the Pharaoh as like being, godlike. And so they lost their fear of the Pharaoh and they started raiding the tombs. When they started raiding the tombs, they saw on the walls, like, what is this? And they started reading it and they saw that it was directions. Like, it's directions to Araru. Like, all the stuff that you need to know to get there, all the passwords, all of the things that could, like, trip you up, everything. It was all on the walls. And so came the Book of the Dead. And the Book of the Dead became available for anyone who could afford it. Because, they had to write it, right? So, or they had to paint it. So, as it became an individual thing, so you had to get your artist to go in and do all this stuff on your tomb, right? All the drawings, all the instructions, all the prayers, all the incantations, everything had to be done. And so you had to be able to afford to do it. Now, other thieves saw this and they were like, wow, we can't afford that. What can we do? And so then came the coffin texts. So the coffin texts were all the instructions, the prayers, the incantations, everything done on the inside and the outside of the sarcophagus. And then there was a map drawn on the bottom of the sarcophagus to show you how to get to Araru. Again, you had to be able to afford it, but it was available for everyone. Anyone who could afford to have this done, you got directions, instructions. So you wouldn't have to hang out in the Amduat the whole, until you reincarnated. Okay, so the Amduat is the place where it's like on the way. So it's in the underworld, but it's on the way to Araru, or the Field of Reeds. So that's where you climb on Ra's solar boat and you float through the gates. You give answers to questions. You already know those answers because it's been written on your tomb or your sarcophagi, right? So it's already there. You know it. You get to the 7th gate, and this is where the judgment, you reach the Hall of Osiris, and he's sitting with Isis and Nephthys standing in back of him. Okay, so he's there to like go, yep, get in line, everybody get in line, because you're going to have to go through and have your heart weighed on the scales of justice with Ma'at's feather. So Ma'at is the goddess of like cosmic justice and truth. She's all about balance, and if you read anything about the Egyptians, they talk about Ma'at. Like, is this Ma'at's way? Or is this the way of Ma'at? Because she's the balancer, like keeping everything balanced out, right? Okay, so once your heart is weighed and it balances out, you get to go to the Hall of Double Judgment. That's the title I'm calling it, because I couldn't really figure out the real title of it. But there are like 44 judges in the Hall of Double Judgment, and you have to go through each judge and be judged again, like to make sure that your soul is clear and it's good, so you can get through to Araru. Okay, so during that time of judgment, the soul gets cleared, and you see where you made your mistakes, and you decide whether you're going to go straight on in, you're going to be reincarnated, what are you going to do? And if your soul does not pass the scales of justice with Mot's feather, your soul is devoured by Amit. And she will just devour you. She just devours it. You know, you're done. You're toast, not coming back. You don't get into the field of reeds. So you want to make sure, you know, that you're living a good life so that you can make it into Auraru, or you're accepted into the afterlife. So that's the story of the field of reeds. I know it's like, and I'm gonna be working on some other underworld mythologies, and this is the first one that I've done where you actually have to follow a path or have instructions to get to the field. Not just live a good life, but actually traverse through something to get somewhere. The other thing too I'd like to say is this, is as we're going through these pantheons, just think of like all the things that overlap of other pantheons, the beliefs, the gods, the goddesses, because we're going to see some things over and over again. I love researching underworlds and how the soul travels through, or what happens to the soul as they travel through. Maybe it's just part of being a Scorpio or a psychic, I don't know, but I love doing it, and if you like it, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to be linking the other Egyptian videos in this video, probably here at the end. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Remember, keep your hearts open and aligned with the energy of love. Bye.